I'm on mute. Sorry, someone's about to yell at me. We have class today. Nothing new on Thursday. So whatever we're covering today is the last new material before the midterm. The midterm is 1 week from today. I'll talk more about it in class on Thursday. Please sign into the attendance. I know there have been some glitches with the attendance. I'm not happy about it. What iClicker's done is generate the second session from the same class. So actually make it to attendance twice, which is not your responsibility. So if you have an unexplained absence, please tell me about it, okay? All right, very good. I want to begin class by filling in this lovely, convoluted full table we started last class. And that should take the first 20 minutes or so. What I'm going to do is fill in the column over on the right, and you just fill in the rest. You should be able to do this from memory by this point. As I call on someone, I'm not going to do this a poll. Try to fill it in your notes blank from scratch without looking at your notes, okay? All right. Who's next? Okay, Angela, thank you. All right, so we start here. A and his heirs. What is the duration of that present interest? Forever. Very good. Who has the future interest? Do we know who that is? When do we figure out who A's heirs are? Oh, that's a tongue twister. Who are A's heirs? When do we actually figure that out? Correct. We don't know who A's heirs are until the death of A. Everyone understand that point? All right, very good. Thank you, Angela. Joel or Trey? Okay, Trey. All right. I don't always remember which way I'm going. I apologize. I have two classes, and it's tricky to remember which is which. All right. So I'm going to give you a series. This will just be the first one of life estates. So let's try this. From O to A for life. So Trey, what is the duration of the present interest? Yeah, A's life. Very good. And use the phrase measuring life. That's actually the correct phrase. Who has the future interest here? I'm sorry. I'm sorry? Well, at first says who has a future interest? Oh. And what do we call his future interest? There we go. Okay. So O has a reversion in fee simple. Okay. Now, Trey, why is this a reversion? Exactly. It's a natural termination, in this case, it's a life estate, that goes to the grantor or the transferor, and that's O in this case. Okay? Is it a vested reversion or a contingent reversion? Thank you. Morning class fell for it. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a vested reversion or contingent reversion. It's reversion, period, full stop. Okay, thank you, Trey, for not falling into my trap. See, now I'm a mess. I can't bluff. You'll see it in my face in 2 seconds, right? You'll know I'm bluffing, guys. I'm a terrible bluffer, but now you get to see it. The mask was good for at least one thing, or maybe two things, but no more bluffing. Okay. All right, let's try a second conveyance. This will be for Colin in a moment. To A for life. Let me on the wrong screen. Sorry. To A for life, comma. Then to B and his heirs. Everyone just take a moment and write down your answer for this one. Okay. All right, Collins, help us out here. Again, the duration is, yeah, same as before. That doesn't change. Who has a future interest? I'm sorry? B has future interest. Okay. What do we call B's future interest? Why is it a remainder? Okay, so after the natural termination of present interest, it goes to a third party. That is a remainder. Okay, so B is a remainder. You done yet? No, you're not done yet. What else are you going to tell me? Why is it a vested remainder? Who's ascertained? Okay, and precedent. Good, but precedent. I'm sorry. I don't want to jump on Dean. I actually saw Dean Worley. I don't want to say anything. Okay. Correct. There's no condition precedent. So it's a vested remainder. Colin, is this a vested remainder subject to divestment? Can this ever be cut short? It's a vested remainder in. I'll whisper it. Yeah, fee simple. My hearing is now better now that there's not as many obstructions. By the way, this thing blocks sound. So talking. Too much louder as I'm standing here. It's like a muffle in front of me. I actually have to project more. I'm standing. I have to keep that in mind. All right. Very good. Vested remainder and fee simple period. You need to give me all those bits of information. If you tell me remainder, you're not done. Tell me vested remainder, you're not done. Vested remainder in fee simple. Then you're done. Okay? Good? Good. All right. We're making actually better speed than the other class, but I hate comparing, but just it's so easy because it's just like a few hours apart and it's still fresh in my mind. All right. Let's try this, a third example. To A, a couple of bits, we can all see it. A for life, comma, then to B's children. And I'm telling you that B has one child. Natalie. The duration again is life estate. Who has the future interest here? Okay, B's children. How would you characterize the future interest that B's children have? Excellent. Why? First off, why is it a remainder?
Because it follows the natural termination of the life estate and it goes to the
Very good. Why is it a vested remainder?
because there's no termination precedent, and then there's also it goes to an afterthing.
Wait a minute. Isn't there a condition here that BS have children first before A dies? Isn't that a condition precedent?
I thought it was a condition precedent like if
You didn't fall into my trap. Very good. Oh, the class fell right into the trap. Good. No, I'm laying traps and you're tiptoeing around them. Very good. There's no condition precedent here. How do you know that? The language. There's no word if. There's no conditional language at all. In your head, you're thinking, oh, wait a minute. You start doubting yourself. Wait a minute. Doesn't B have to have children before the death of A? Don't do that to yourself. You're going to get yourself crazy. Just read the language. No condition there. So again, it's a vested remainder. Okay? There's no condition precedent. Natalie, what about ascertained? Is the remainder ascertained?
yes,
Why?
because it's going to there's one child like that.
But what if more children are born? And what if maybe B's child dies? Are they still ascertained?
No, so you said that.
But no. You're on to the next part. Is it still ascertained if only one child's alive, if more children can be born? Does the entire class have to be born for it to be ascertained? No. Is it still vested? Good. You didn't fall into the other trap. Good. This is a remainder that's vested no matter what. So long as one child is alive, there is ascertainment. There's an ascertained remainderment. The child is alive. Whether he dies later, we don't really care about. Right? We don't really care what happens after the conveyance is drafted. At the time this is drafted, there's one living child. I told you that. It's ascertained, and there's no condition precedent. Now, you said, Natalie, one more, you're done. Vested remainder subject to open, right? Why is the subject to open there, Natalie?
Because there's one child at the time that could, increase.
The class can get bigger or smaller, right? This is called a class gift, right? The class can get bigger or smaller. Okay. I'm sorry, Natalie, one more question. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. You're not. Can B's interest ever, I'm sorry, the child of B, we'll just call him Bobby, right? Can Bobby's interest ever be completely divested? Can Bobby lose everything? Say he has 12 more brothers and sisters who are born. No. Can his interest be partially divested? Good. Excellent. You're done. All right. This is subject to partial divestment, right? Why is it partial divestment? Because more brothers and sisters can be born. And then the child, the Bobby, whatever I call him, right, would have to share with his brothers and sisters. But the correct way is what Natalie said, it's subject to open, right? You could also say a vested remainder subject to partial divestment, right? You could say it's a vested remainder subject to partial divestment. That's correct. But this is better, what she said. It's subject to open. Because it tells you specifically more children can be born to the class. Trey?
So Bobby died, he would still get his heirs.
Correct. I think I might have actually said this wrong this morning. One of the students asked me a question. I screwed this question up this morning, so I'm actually prepared for it. They called me on it too, which is always good. If I make a mistake, you call me on it because this is the hardest class that's meant for me to teach, just without fail, and I will make mistakes, I promise. If Bobby dies, Bobby's heirs inherit the vested remainder. Once you have a vested remainder, that's it. You can inherit it. There's no problem. And Bobby's heirs will inherit that vested remainder. Yes, I don't see name tags. Sorry. And I don't know if your face. That's actually why I'm so bad with the names this semester. I don't have any faces yet, right? Anyway, you're all just a blank of blue, right? But now I can get to learn your names halfway through the semester. Okay, well, that's okay.
So for it to just be regular vested remainder, it would have to have just said, for example, to A's oldest son.
Yes. If it was A's oldest son, that's a known ascertained person. That's a vested remainder period. Now, you could tweak it saying oldest living son, which might not be the guy who's alive now. Maybe the oldest son dies and the middle son can step up in the food chain.
So would that be subject?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a column and then Gabriel.
After you say subject to open, you say infeasible.
I'm not done yet. Yeah. Make me walk back to. I just sat down. Subject to open in fee simple, right? But the key point is they're all going to split the fee simple together. They're all the brothers and sisters. So I mean, yes, it's a fee simple estate, but they have to share it collectively, right? There's no one. The fee simple, you say, yes, control. Well, you have control with brothers and sisters. You got to agree. And the siblings can't agree, then it's not something very hard to actually manage with many siblings. Maybe you guys, brothers and sisters, get along way great. Not everyone does, especially if all money. All right, number 3. Are we okay? Good job, Natalie. Very good. Oh yeah, Gabriel. I'm sorry.
Earlier we were talking about if B were to receive an interest in this statement, B's not receiving an interest, correct?
I'm sorry. What's your question?
A few minutes ago.
B has nothing here.
Okay.
Oh, I meant Bobby.
Bobby?
Bobby, the son of.
Bobby's the son of B.
I said that. I'm sorry. I gave him a name. I should probably name him. All right, everyone get number 3. That's smoother this morning. I don't know. Maybe you guys are warmed up for the afternoon. All right, let's take a look at we'll do a 4th one. And I got a 5th one too, which wasn't in class last week. Excuse me. Number 4. To A for life, then to B's children. But here I'm telling you that B has no children. So I'm changing it up. Okay. Versa, help us out. What's the future interest here? Okay, good start. They have a future interest in what? Okay, so why is it a contingent remainder? Correct. Correct.
It's contingent because it can either be subject to condition precedent, which is not here.
Correct. But wait a minute, aren't there 3 children have to be born? Isn't that a condition precedent?
Well, there's, like, Natalie was in there.
Thank you. Didn't fall into the trap. Good. But why is this condition precedent? What's true here?
Because it goes to an ascertained person.
Are the children be ascertained at this point in time?
No,
They're not. Why are they not ascertained?
because they don't exist.
That's a good answer. Yeah, they don't exist. There are no ascertained children of B. So it's contingent remainder. Okay, so B's children have a future interest in contingent remainder. All right, is this contingent remainder subject to open?
No,
Why not?
that's not.
It's not a thing. Good job. Okay, good. I'm laying these traps for you now so you don't walk into the midterm. I'm happy for you guys to just jump over these traps now. Okay? And finish it up, Brissa. It's a contingent remainder. Thank you. You're done. Okay, very good. Okay. Okay. Everyone get number 4. Everyone get number 4. Good. Good. Again, this is going that you're about 5 minutes ahead of pace for the other class, so this is good. I know it's awful to think that way, but that's how I think of classes. I have almost every minute scripted. Like when I say I'm going to finish 2 minutes early, I know, or 2 minutes over, I know exactly when I'm going to finish. All right, let's do a 5th one. This one is new, so maybe you guys are all just memorizing it really well. Let's do this one. From O to A for life, l'chaim. No, from O to A for life, then to B and his heirs. If B graduates law school before A dies, maybe a little too close to home for you guys. I say this point at this point every semester, but it's quite deliberate. Not all of you will graduate law school. 10% of you probably won't. It's the attrition rate's about 10%. No, I say this clearly. I mean, the attrition rate's about 10%. Will not be here next semester. I know who you are. All blind grading doesn't. I don't know who you are. But think very carefully about this when you prepare for midterms and finals, because it's not a guarantee. You work hard to get here. Not all of you will stay here. And the worst part is the people who were expelled usually fall into 2 categories. One, those who have the natural aptitude but didn't apply themselves. Those are ones that kill me. And second, people who work their butts off and they just can't muster it. And those 2 categories kill me for different reasons. And then there are people who just had a sickness in the family, personal trauma. Chaos happens around midterms and final exams, and their exam scores are not very good. So there are different reasons why people flunk out. But just don't take this for granted, right? You're all loving it. You're happy here. Be here next semester. I'll be happy to come say hi to you next semester. Because they don't let you back in, right? If you flunk out, it's very rare they let you back in. It almost happens rarely, but take it very seriously. And I don't like giving this stern warning, but I think it's incumbent upon me because there's no guarantee. If you don't pass the first year of law school, the bar looms 2 years down the road. And I think our school has a moral failing if we let you sit here for 3 years, paying 3 years of tuition if you're not going to be able to pass the bar. I think it's a moral failing. So it's a harsh remedy, but I just think about it carefully. I always make this point when I read this stupid life essay question, but anyway, I made my point. All right. Morgan, what's the future interest here in number 5?
So B has a future interest.
Okay.
And
B-
contingent remainder.
Okay, so why does B have a contingent remainder?
It's a remainder because natural termination that follows goes to third party.
Okay, so it's a remainder because a natural termination goes to a third party. Why is it contingent? Why is it contingent?
There's a condition precedent.
Good. What's the condition precedent?
He has to graduate law school before A dies.
Correct. And how do you know it's a condition precedent, not a condition subsequent? The if appears where? Where does the if appear in the sentence?
It appears after or before. No,
Which one is it?
Then to be in there's comma if.
There's no comma. I don't see a comma. Do you see a comma? I don't see a comma. If I had a comma, there would actually make the question.
Before B can get it, he has to graduate.
Correct. The condition comes before the remainder. If I put a comma over here, it would screw you up so badly because it would be a completely different thing. It'd be executory interest. Someone came to my office, this office hours, my first class, and said, "What if I put a comma over here?" And I said, "Don't do it. Like, don't." And no, I wasn't being mean to the student. I was just saying, if you put a comma there, it radically alters the question. Does anyone see the Hamilton musical? My Dearest Angelica? Do you get the reference? My Dearest Angelica? No? The placement of a comma changes the meaning to the. They didn't know the other class, whatever, right? But go read go Google My Dearest Angelica. You'll see it. In Hamilton, anyway. Sorry, Lin-Manuel. He actually signed my Constitution. I saw Lin-Manuel Miranda at the Supreme Court, and he sat. It's true. He sat. Okay, sorry, but he was sitting in the same row as me, and I asked him to sign my Constitution. I didn't recognize him. He was in a suit, looking all proper. You know, but I didn't know that guy. Anyway, all right, I'm done. I saw it in the original Broadway run, but he had an understudy, so it wasn't him. I saw the understudy. I know. I bought the tickets like 6 months in advance. It was.
I saw it with him.
Yeah, I had an understudy. I was not happy. I paid money, but anyway. Okay, go on. Okay, stop. All right. Morgan. So what does B have?
We have future interest and contingent remainder and
Okay, future interest and contingent remainder in fee simple. That's correct. Thank you so much, Morgan. And the reason why it's contingent is a condition precedent. Why is there condition precedent? Look at this word if. The if comes in the same clause as the remainder. It comes before they get it. If you put a comma, sorry, the word if and if. Put a comma here, it changes it radically. It completely alters the meaning of the conveyance. So the commas are very careful. Just don't. So it's that Professor Black, can I give you a question I wrote up? No, I'm not going to do this anymore. I used to, and then I stopped because these questions are hard to write without making errors. All right. We're not done yet. Victoria, we're not done yet, are we? What else we got to talk about here? Oh. What happens if which none of you will do, I hope, but B flunks out? What do you call O's interest here? Why is it a reversion? Is it a possibility of reversion? Why not? That's not a thing. Good answer. Very good answer. I'm trying to trick you. See, I'm a terrible bluffer. It's a possibility of reversion. No, I said it. There's no possibility. I did it. I'm torturing myself. There's no possibility reversion. It's reversion, period. That's it. Okay, good. Reversion in. Thank you. You're done. Okay, good. Reversion in fee simple. No, I mean, maybe I shouldn't do that. I don't know, that's mean, but you're done. No, you give me. If you give me what I'm looking for, you're done. I don't have to belabor the points. When I don't get the answer, I have to stay in you for an extended period of time. And more. Go ahead.
On the chart or 2, where it says from O to line.
Hold on. Let me scroll so we're all looking at the same thing. I can't keep it all on the screen at the same time. 2.
It
2.
should be O has invest reversion, right? Instead of I'm looking at the wrong document.
Are you withdrawing your question?
Yeah, I was
Good, withdrawn. Okay, question withdrawn. Okay. All right, by the way, that's it. That's a signature. Okay, sorry. I did just for that reaction. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. Okay. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Class. The other class had no idea what I was talking about, so I'm kind of annoyed. How do you not know? It's on Disney. Dad never seen. Yeah, have you seen Hamilton? No? Good. Oh, what's your question then? You can ask a question.
Do you have to say that you're saying reversion so has a future interest in reversion?
Yes, that's totally correct. I perhaps I shortcut here. I'm sorry. All right, everyone with me. I'm on the wrong tab. This is my the other notes, or section A. Okay. All right. Look at that, 25 minutes. The other class was 30, so you're 5 minutes ahead of pace. Good. Questions on the life estate. We just spent 25 minutes just on life estates. There are 4, and I did these deliberately. There are really 4 different ways I can ask a life estate. There's a life estate with reversion, life estate with vested remainder, fee simple, life estate with vested remainder subject to opening fee simple, life estate with contingent remainder because it's not ascertained, and then life estate with the contingent remainder because there's a condition precedent. Right? There's basically 5 different ways you can get 5 different types of future interest that can follow life estate. 5. That's a lot, actually. Think about it. Everybody with me? Let's move on. Let's refer to Samantha in a moment. All right, let's do the fee simple determinable. All right, from O to A, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes. All right. What's the duration, Samantha, of the present interest here? Good, good, good. As long as Blackacre, oh, it's in bold. Blackacre is used for school purposes. And then Samantha, how do you know? I already told you it's the far left column. But how do you know there's a fee simple determinable? Well, you're correct, but what words tell us, or what words give us a hint that this is a fee simple determinable? So long as. What kind of word is that, Samantha? How do we describe that language? What kind of words tell us we have fee simple determinable? Durational. Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay. Durational. When you see durational words, that tells us this is probably a fee simple determinable. Not necessarily. We'll see that in 20 minutes, but it's not always the case. But it's probably a fee simple determinable. Okay. So the present interest is a fee simple determinable. All right, Fidel, help us out here. What is the future interest in this case? Or who has a future interest? Let's start with the easier question. Who has a future interest?
O.
How do you know that O has a future interest here? Does it tell us? Does the conveyance tell us that O has a future interest here? You're right, but tell me why. What happens if A builds apartment buildings on Blackacre?
It automatically goes back to O.
But how do you know that? Does it tell us that? Property goes somewhere, doesn't it, right?
Yeah.
Someone's owned property at all points in time. What happens here if Blackacre is used for residential purposes? Where does it go? How do you know that, though? I've asked the question many times before in different ways. This doesn't always go to the grantor.
Well, there's no one else.
There's no one else. So we draw an inference, right? We draw an inference, which will not always be true. We can draw that inference here because it works. But there's only two people who are named. There's O and there's A. That's it, folks. And if A doesn't have it, then O has it. Okay? So Fidel, finish it up. What do we call O's future interest here? What did he reserve for himself?
Possibility reverted.
Possibility of reverter. Why is it a possibility of reverter?
Because that's the term for.
Very good. This you got to memorize, my friend. Reverter. O has a possibility of reverter. This is a pairing. If the present interest is a fee simple determinable, the future interest is a possibility of reverter. Why? When there's a present interest, that's fee simple determinable, and it goes back to the grantor, it's a possibility of reverter. All right, you have to see. Only the grantor can get the possibly reverter. Third parties can't. That's something else. That's executory limitation. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But when you have a possibility, when you have a fee simple determinable, the future interest that follows is a possibility of reverter. Not a possibility of reversion, possibility of reverter. Okay? And Fidel, what kind of possibility reverter is it? Finish it up. Possibly reverter.
Oh,
You're done. Thank you. Possibly reverter and fee simple. Very good. 1 second. Okay, again. So long as Blackacre is used for school purposes, O gets nothing. But O's just sort of waiting, lurking in the sidelines to hopefully get it at some point in the time. but you need to be able to match that pairing. Again, only the grantor can have a possibility reverter. If the future interest goes to a third party, it's the other thing for today, the executory interests. Yes, Jason, I think Rika was it? Jason, yeah.
So for possibility of reverter, we don't have to put O as a future.
Yes, you do. You do. I'm sorry. You're the same as Trey before, but you're being very good, very diligent student. But you're exactly right. You're right. Thank you. Was that your question?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! If you guys are all on point. No, that's good. Correct me. Point out if I'm not doing it correctly, because this is once we get down to the bottom of this, go to scroll down. It's been like 3 lines long describing these things. They get very messy. So if I take shortcuts, I apologize. Yes, Trey, please.
I think earlier we were doing top row about the not ascertained children.
Yeah.
They what these children you left off those future interests.
That's okay. I'm sure I did. I'm sorry. You're right. No, you're right. You're right. I'll go for the sake of completeness. I will. Look, who am I to tell a student no? I can't tell you no. You're my bosses. You don't realize this. You're basically my bosses. You don't ever like think of it that way, but posting it to a boss I have like 80 bosses. Which one was I? This one? Future interest. Future interest. Okay. And I didn't. Okay. I did it number 4. I did it that way. I did it number 3. Here. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's do it here too. Sure. I'm screwing up everyone's charts. They're like, oh no, my thing is not lining up anymore. All right, yeah, good. We good with this chart so far? All right, let's do the last one. Oh no, the 4th one. Sorry. Row number 4. From O to A, comma. I'm sorry. From O to A and his heirs, comma. But if Blackacre is not used as a school, O has right of entry. Luke, I think you're next. What is the present interest here, Luke?
Fee simple subject to condition subsequent.
How do you know the fee simple subject to condition subsequent?
The condition comes after the remainder.
Oh, the last one was wrong. The condition was actually what? It's not, there's no remainder here. I'm glad you said that. That's not correct. The condition comes when? After what? Say it again. What's the present interest here?
Fee simple subject to condition subsequent. Comes
So
after,
the condition is subsequent to what? You said it.
the fee simple.
The fee simple. Watch, check this out. If it was just from O to A and his heirs, period, right? You put a period after the word heirs. That's a fee simple, right? We all agree with that. But there's a comma instead. And after the comma, there's a condition. Subsequent to the comma, there's a condition. Subsequent to the fee simple, there's a condition. So it's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. Done. Easiest one to figure out, right? There's literally a condition subsequent to the fee simple. Everybody with me? So the present interest, which is also on the screen, right? So I was asking Luca not a very hard question, right? Is a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. All right, Luke, so now to the future interest. What's the future interest here?
O has a right of reentry
How do you know that?
because when your present interest is subject to condition subsequent, your future interest is going to be the right of reentry.
That's correct. How else do you know it, Luke? There's a very easy way to know it as well. You can cheat.
Says it.
It says it's on the damn screen, right? Okay, very good. Right? A has a right of entry or right of reentry. You'll see it both ways. I'm sorry, Trey. Future interest. Just cut it off. Okay. Future interest and right of entry. Okay. You don't know this, but I anticipate a lot of your questions. I know who's going to ask what usually, and I can sort of like it's you work on it, right? One second, and Nick, 1 second. A has. That's what you're saying. Oh, not A. It's O. Yeah. O has. So being cocky, right? O has a future interest and right of entry. Good? Good. Okay. O has a right of entry. All right. Now, what's your question? That was it.
No, I'm just wondering if we have to say be simple or if it's.
I'm not done yet. Okay. Luke, what kind of right of entry is it? In,
Be simple.
thank you. It's a right of entry in fee simple, right? Oh, I forgot to do this column. This is, on the condition, that Blackacre used for school purposes. So I forgot that one. I'm sorry. In this line, it's a possibility of reverter. In this line, it's a right of entry. Josh, I remember your name. Right? Josh, what's the biggest difference between the possibility of reverter and the right of entry? They're both held by the grant for, right? But there's a big difference between these two interests. What's the big difference?
One's for H, one's in the.
No. I'm not talking about the present interest, I'm talking about the future interest. What's the biggest difference between a right of entry and a possibility of reverter? How do they differ? Josh, with the right of entry, what does that name suggest? A right of entry.
To transfer and come back.
What do you have to do to come back in?
Subject on conditions.
No. What do you have to do to actually say the conditions violated? What do you have to do to actually get it? Possibly reverter is automatic. Good. The possibly reverter is automatic. It determines, the word determine means to cut short. It determines automatically, right? No extra legal steps are needed. It's automatically a fee simple. But with the right of entry, it's not automatic. The entirety of a right of entry suggests that you have to exercise that right. You have to go to court and determine who actually owns Blackacre in fee simple. Okay? Why does this matter? On an exam, if I give you a fact pattern and I tell you that O never went to court, there's no fee simple yet. There's not a fee simple to exercise the right of entry. But there's a possibly reverter, there's no need to go to court. This is why I can really trick you on this one issue. It's very important to get this. All right, 240, we're on track. How are we doing? Questions? All right. My goal for today in the next 40 minutes or so is to walk through this much, like 5 or 6 questions. That'll take the next 40 minutes. My goal for next class is to go through all the examples in the book. You'll see them example 1, example 2, example 3, so on through 17. And there are these book problems into the chapter. That's my goal for next class. If I get through as many as I can, we'll do it. Let's start with what I call example 1A. Okay. And let me just take a step back and review a little bit. We've studied 4 types of present interests so far. That's it. In like a month, we've done 4 present interests. Is that crazy? The fee simple absolute, the life estate, the fee simple subject to condition subsequent, and the fee simple determinable. All right, these are the 4 present interests we've done. With the fee simple absolute, there is no future interest. The holder controls what happens to it. But with the other 3, there is a future interest. Okay. Most of the time, we've discussed future interest retained by the transferor. A future interest retained by the transferor. So with reversion, follows a natural termination and goes back to the transferor. We've done the fee simple subject to condition subsequent. Again, the transferor has the right of entry. We've done a fee simple determinable. Again, the transferor has the possibility reverter. With me so far. We've only done one interest where the future interest is held by a third party. That's the remainder. The remainder is a future interest that follows the natural termination of a present interest and goes to a third party. And we've studied that a remainder can be vested or contingent. In this chapter, we're doing a new type of future interest that goes to a third party, and it's associated present interest. Now, notice what I did there. I did the future interest first and the present interest second. With the topic today, executory limitations, you very often have to start the future and go back in time, which is why it's so important to know your rules. You have to go forward and backwards. All right. So let's look at example 1A. 1A right up here. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes. I'll come back to Josh. Josh, what is the present interest here in 1A?
Alex has a present interest in fee simple, subject to Baker's executory limitation.
No, that's not correct. We've done this question many times before.
Oh, I was looking at 1B.
I said 1A.
Uh,
Try again.
Alex has a present interest in fee simple determinable
How do you know that?
because it is durational and it's like the language.
Okay.
So long that-
Okay. You see durational language. But beyond that, where does the future interest go, Josh? Who has future interest here?
Ollie,
How do you know that?
because there's nobody else named.
There's no one else named, so what do we do?
Make an assumption.
Make an assumption, draw an inference. What do you call Ollie's interest here? Ollie's future.
Possibility of reversion,
How do you know that?
because it's the only option it fits.
Okay, so I'm going to tweak you a little bit. It's the only option that fits, right? Look at 1B. 1A and 1B look a lot alike, don't they? They both give Blackacre to Alex, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes. You're correct, Josh. You're correct. 1A is a fee simple determinable followed by a possibility of reverter. You're 100% correct. But don't say always, right? Because in 1B, there's not going to be a fee simple determinable there. Look how similar they look. Look at that, 1A, 1B. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, comma, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, so long as Blackacre is used for school purposes, comma, then to Baker. This comma and the thing comes after it radically alters what's going on. Radically alters the question. Right? So I want to introduce a new concept, right, which is called the executory limitation, or also the executory interest. You'll see it both ways. I prefer limitation for reasons I'll explain later, but you'll see it both ways in the book. An executory limitation. Okay. What does the word executory mean? Well, think of the word execute, right? Execute. You know, like off with their heads, right? Oh, that people know, right? To execute means to terminate, to end, to carry through. An executory interest is an interest that cuts short someone else's interest. Think of it like divestment, right? An executory limitation limits or cuts short a present interest. So let's just look at 1B just sort of in, plain English, right? What's happening? Alex is chilling on Blackacre. And he decides to build some condos. And who comes along? Boom, Ollie. No, not Ollie. Baker. See, in 1A, it's Ollie. But who's doing the cutting here? Baker. Baker comes along and says, aha, I'm going to terminate your interest. I'm going to execute your interest. And I get Blackacre and fee simple. In 1A, the grantor is cutting short the interest. But in 1B, the third party is cutting short the interest. I've told you that only the grantor can have a possibility of reverter. 1B, Baker cannot have a possibility of reverter. I will trick 10% of you in the exam with this, I promise you. You're going to say, oh, duh, so long as, that means Baker has a possibility of reverter. No, that's not correct. Only the grantor can have a possibility of reverter. If there's a third party who's cutting short of present interest, that third party has an executory limitation. If there's a third party who's cutting short some present interest, that person has an executory limitation. Okay? Right? In example 1B, B has an executory limitation. Go with me. So Hunter, if B has an executory limitation, what does A have?
A would have a present interest in fee simple subject to no executory limitation.
Excellent. A has a present interest, say it again, in fee simple,
Subject to an executory limitation.
A has a present interest in fee simple, subject to an executory limitation. Everyone with me, right? These are mirror images of each other, if you think about it, right? If B has a future, I'm sorry, Trey. If B has a future interest, the hand was about to go up. If B has a future interest in executory limitation, then A has a present interest in fee simple, subject to that executory limitation. I mean, look at it. If it was Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, period, if you have fee simple, but it's not. It's Blackacre from Ollie to Alex, comma, blah, 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 blah. It's a fee simple that's subject to Baker's executory interest. This is not a fee simple determinable. It is not a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. It is a fee simple subject to an executory limitation. And if you want to be more precise, which I'd like to do, is you would say A has a present interest in fee simple subject to Baker's executory limitation. Because trust me, there'll be questions with multiple executory interests, right? There might be several. I can stack them. So it's helpful if you specify whose executory interest you're subject to. One second anymore, I promise. Okay. Everyone with me? All right, Emma, go ahead.
So I have a question. Can a fee simple subject to executory interest limitation use both durational or?
We'll get to that one next. Yep. Well, good example 2. We'll read ahead. But yeah. You can do, one second, Clark. You can do a fee simple subject to executory limitation with durational language or with conditional language. We'll get there in a few minutes. I see another hand somewhere. Oh, Clark.
Is the future interest, is that in fee simple as well? Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it would be a future interest and executory limitation in fee simple. That's not subject to any divestment. So what happens here is that Baker is sort of just floating around waiting for Blackacre to be misused. And as soon as Blackacre is misused, it goes to Baker. Yes, Arturo?
If we didn't have the then to Baker, we would just, then in that case, all we would have.
Right, that's 1A, right? If you take out then to Baker, 1A and 1B are identical. The only difference between 1A and 1B is this comma then to Baker. That radically alters the question. If you take out the Baker part, it goes back to 1A. You just have a possible reverter. Go back to Oliver. Yes.
So reversion is just going back to the original transfer, and then,
Whoa, hold on. Where's the reversion?
no, but I'm saying just in general, like reversion.
Well, what's the definition of reversion? You may memorize 100 million times.
future interest that follows the natural termination,
It goes back to,
the transfer.
correct, the transfer, correct.
And so executory interest is gonna be a third party that cuts short a transferee's interest.
Well, not always. That'll be the next step. There's different types of executory interest. But in this case, you're cutting short the transferee's interest, yes. Vanessa?
I just had a question. If Alex dies, would it go to Baker right away?
Well, it doesn't matter if Alex dies. What matters is how Blackacre is being used. So whoever Alex's heirs are, keep the school open.
Okay, so it will go to the heirs and they have to use it in
School.
that position.
Correct. And now if they don't use it for school purposes, then they lose it.
And then it'll go to Baker. Okay.
Or Baker's heirs. Baker has to do it. Everyone, go with me. All right. All right, so again, A has a present interest in fee simple subject to Baker's executory limitation. And B has a future interest in executory limitation in fee simple. That's a correct answer. There's no fee simple determinable here. There's no possibility reverter here. The executory interest, though, functions like the possibility reverter, and that's automatic. No action to be taken. To Vanessa's point a moment ago, as soon as Blackacre is being used for, residential purposes, the fee simple goes to Baker right away. There's no need to request right of entry. There's no need to take any steps to litigate it. All right, everyone with me? Daniel.
This might just be confusing me, but is a fee simple determinable a executory interest that goes back to the transferor? Is that a way we can think about it?
I think I understood your question. Say it one more time.
Can we just see that we're view fee simple determinables as executory interest?
No, absolutely not. Don't do that. No. There's a category called fee simple defeasible. Remember the fee simple defeasible? There are several types of fee simple defeasible. There's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent, and there's a fee simple determinable. With those two categories, the future interest goes to the transferor. Then you have the fee simple subject to executory interest. That future interest goes to a third party. That's how you divide them up. Not what you did. What you did is confusing. You're probably wrong. Everyone get 1A and 1B. Okay. So on to 2A and 2B. I think Gabriel's next. All right, Gabriel. So what is the present interest in 2A?
So Alex has a present interest in fee simple subject to conditions subsequent.
Okay. How do you know it's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent?
The condition
Good. A has a present interest in fee simple subject to condition subsequent. Gabriel, what's the future interest here?
Ollie. This is often in parentheses. There's almost two parties. Ollie has a future.
No.
In right of entry.
Why?
It says right of
Well, but why is right of entry beyond it saying it there? It's not always going to say, look, I can give you a question where I can just delete that part in bold and I can mess with you. I won't always give that to you. So, but how do you know, or how would you infer that the future interest is right? The future interest is right of entry.
I can see you're struggling. If I deleted this part of the sentence, again, I deleted everything over here, would you necessarily know what it is? Let's take a step back. If I asked you in class last week, if I delete this part, you say, of course, it's still fee simple subject to subsequent with O has right of entry. But now look at 2B. You can have conditional language that's going to a third party. So the answer, you're right, Gabriel. I'm giving you a hard time. Oh, yeah. You're welcome. Right? O has a future interest in right of entry fee simple because I tell you that. But if I don't, the question gets a lot harder. This is why you don't modify my questions. Or if you do it with caution. Okay. You have a matching fee simple subject to condition subsequent, followed by right of entry. Everybody with me? All right, Hunter. Let's do 2B. Now again, look how similar 2A and 2B are. They're identical except for the last clause. What did it? Oh, okay, just calling you, Kevin. Okay, I'm sorry. No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, I'll go to Kevin in a minute. Kevin. So they're real similar, right? Here it says Ali is right of entry, and over here it says then to Baker. What difference does that last language make, Kevin?
Well, instead of going back to the transfer, it goes to the first one.
Excellent. It does not go back to the transferor. It goes to a third party, Baker. Kevin, what is Baker doing to Alex's interest?
He's limiting.
He's limiting it. Good. Or executing it. Excellent. Very good. So what interest here does Baker have?
Baker would have interest that's subject to like executive.
No. Baker.
Oh.
What's Baker's future interest here? You're giving me the other answer. See, I'm going out of order. You're so used to it, right? You see, he was doing it the right way. I'm deliberately going out of order. With this topic, you got to work backwards sometimes.
Okay, well, Baker has a future interest in
Why is it a remainder?
because it follows it would follow the
I'm in 2B. It follows what? What's a remainder, Kevin?
the remainder is
What's the definition of remainder?
the remainder follows present interest.
What kind of present interest? That's fine.
The present interest in this case would be
No. What's the definition of remainder? Bruno, right? No. What's the definition of remainder?
the remainder. It follows the present interest.
No, that's not the definition. What 100 times you said definition of remainder? Follows what?
Follows the future interest.
Oh, Troy, what's a remainder? I'll come back to you, Kevin, in a bit. What's a remainder? I've 100 times, same definition. I haven't changed it.
Follows the termination of natural conditions.
Natural termination. Back to you, Kevin. Is there a natural termination in 2B?
No,
No, there's not. What kind of termination is there?
the termination is subject to a condition.
It's a non-natural. It's conditional, right?
Right.
Okay. So what interest does Baker have here? It's not a remainder.
No, he's got
Say it louder.
he has an executory limitation.
That's correct. Okay. Baker has a future interest in executory limitation. Now, Kevin, finish it up, or at least finish up the future interest. Why is Baker's interest a future interest in executory limitation? Why is it executory?
Because he's canceling out Alex's his fee simple if he doesn't,
Why is it not a right of entry?
because, Ollie is not taking property back.
Can a third party have a right of entry?
No, because you can't sell it. to a
Good.
third party.
All right, now you got it. Now you got it?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I think you got it. Okay, good. Baker has an executory limitation. And why? It cannot be a right of entry. It cannot be a right of entry because that belongs only to the grantor. Baker's a third party. Baker does not have a remainder because this is not natural. There's a condition. A remainder can only follow. A remainder can only follow a natural termination. There is no natural termination here. So it's a executory limitation. Does it matter that the word but if is there? Doesn't make a difference. So long as but if still followed by executory limitation. So 2B and 1B are the same. I'll change in a second, right? 2B and 1B are basically the same thing. Even though different languages use it, doesn't matter. Yes, Trey.
Baker's executory limitation, does he get it automatically?
That's 3 questions on the road. The answer is yes. I'll get to that in 3 seconds, right? Clark.
With fee simple defeasible, so there's 3 different types. The executory interest one is the only one, okay, sorry. Is the executory interest one the only one where a third party
Correct.
is involved?
Correct. Yeah, let me write this out because it's a little hard to see in your head, right? We have defeasible interest, right? We have 3 kinds of defeasible estates. We have the fee simple determinable, and the fee simple subject to condition subsequent, right? With these 2, the future interest belongs to the grantor. The fee simple determinable and a fee simple subject to condition subsequent, the future interest belongs to the grantor. But with the fee simple subject executory limitation, the future interest belongs to third party. The fee simple subject executory limitation, future interest belongs to a third party. Tamika, was your hand up?
Yeah, but it's okay.
You sure?
I let go, yeah. I'm
Like-
good. I got everything.
Okay, that's fine. Alyssa.
So for executory limitation, would you say that it follows a condition or follows a non-natural termination?
Say that again, please, one more time.
Would you say an executory limitation follows a condition or follows a non-natural termination?
Those are 2 ways of saying the same thing.
It doesn't matter. which one.
Unnatural, I think, is broader, right? We'll do. I would say unnatural because it's the opposite of natural, right? I've given you the definition 100 times of natural. I would say unnatural. I think that's probably more consistent with your notes. Everyone with me? Now I'll answer Trey's question, right? In both example 1B and 2B, 1B and 2B, right? These are automatic, right? As soon as the condition is violated, it executes. With an executory interest, it doesn't matter what language you use, so long as, but if, it makes no difference. It's automatic. All right. I'll come back to Arturo. We're not quite done with you yet. What's the present interest then in 2B? What does Alex have as a present interest? In 2B?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the next one. 2B. What we're working on. If we know the future interest is an executory limitation, what must the present interest be, Arturo? Louder, please. I think I heard you.
Present interest in
Very good. A has a present interest in fee simple subject to B's executory limitation. Alex has a present interest in fee simple subject to B's executory limitation. These have to match, right? If the future interest is an executory limitation, then the present interest must also be executory limitation. A fee simple subject to the executory limitation. Everyone see that? Right, 2A and 2B are very similar, except where the future interest goes, and that changes the entire question.
For Baker's future interest, executory limitation, we put in fee simple after.
Yes, I didn't finish. You're done. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you, Arturo. He just bailed you out for one more. Okay. Now it's you're done, right? Thank you. Right? It's executory limitation fee simple. No, I'm sorry. I put the wrong one. I'm sorry. I did the wrong line. I'm sorry. Happens when I rush. You're also smart. You correct me, and I don't get it right.
Is it wrong if you have put Alex has a present interest in, well, basically put the in fee simple at the end? Is that wrong? That person?
Yeah, that'd be wrong. Because the present interest is in fee simple, but subject to the executory limitation. I don't think you can flip that. Yes. Just what's your name? Sophia. Okay.
Do you think it automatic or like at the end of that?
I did that just for your notes, but you should know that is automatic. Is that your question? So I saw a hand here, so I know. All right. Everyone get this much, 2B. Because I need to give you some new stuff, another layer. I'm sorry. Who asked for that transfer or transferee? Who asked about that before? Someone. I can't remember who it was. Someone asked about this before. I'm going to give it to you now. There are two types. Two more. God, just leave me alone, right? This is the last one, I promise. There are two types of executory limitations. Okay? There are two types of executory limitations. There's the shifting executory limitation and the springing executory limitation. So, Bree, let's look at 2B, for example, right? Whose interest is being cut short here in 2B? Whose interest is being cut short in 2B? Okay. Is Alex the transferor or the transferee?
Alex is the transferee.
Good. And what do you call an executory limitation that cuts short the interest of the transferee? Is it shifting or springing?
Springy?
The other one. All right, fine. Yeah, 50-50, right? Okay. A shifting executory interest terminates the interest of the transferee. Right? A shifting executory interest terminates the interest of the transferee. Again, the transferee receives. Remember, me receives. Okay. The shifting executory interest cuts short the interest of the transferee. The other one, Bree, what does the springing executory interest do? Correct. The springing executory interest terminates the interest of the transferor, the grantor, Ollie, in every question, right? The springing executory interest cuts short the interest of the transferor, Ollie. When you're characterizing a executory limitation, you need to tell me is it shifting or springing. So Bree, one more for you. Go to 2B. Is 2B shifting or springing executory interest? Who is interest being cut short here? 2B, what we just did. Correct. Right? So in 2B, we have a shifting executory interest. So we can modify our answer up here. B has a future interest in shifting executory limitation in fee simple. And here comes the mouthful. Alex has a present interest in fee simple subject to B's shifting executory limitation. Isn't it a mouthful? That's a lot. Again, Alex has a present interest in fee simple subject to B's, shifting executory limitation. And Baker has a future interest in a future interest in shifting executory limitation and fee simple. Alexa wanted me to flip them. I said, no way. I'm not flipping those. Everyone see that? Whew, that's a lot to say, isn't it? You ready for the other one? Next question, I think the hardest question this semester, at least top 3. Jocelyn. Sorry. Oh, you're next. You're next. I'm sorry. You're next up in the queue. This is completely random. I don't have any control over where you sit. All right. So let's look at 2C. Again, think about this one the other class actually nailed this one right away. I was very happy with this one. 2C. No pressure. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex for life, comma. Then to Baker, if Baker gives Alex a proper funeral. So I'll help you out here to start, right? Alex is a life estate. There you go. I give you a hint. Present interest in life estate. There, I helped you out. What is the future interest, Jocelyn, that follows this life estate? Why is it a remainder? Is there a natural termination here? What happens when Alex dies, Jocelyn?
It goes to Baker, but
Oh, is that natural? Is that unnatural? Want to repeat your answer? Is there a remainder here? Why is there a remainder here? Very good. Okay. Everyone heard what she just said. It's a very important point. This throws off 90% of the class first time. How many of you got this one wrong? Almost all of you? I saw some heads nodding. There is not a remainder here. You want to say remainder. It's like in your inside. But you have to recite the definition. Is there a natural termination here? Why have I been harping on that for so much? This question. I'm serious. I've been saying natural over and over again for this freaking question, right? This is why I've been doing it for 3 weeks, because I knew this was coming. And most of you didn't get it. But now you do. There is not a natural termination. What's the word? Unnatural. Something's got to happen. Immediately upon the death of A, Blackacre will not naturally go to Alex. It cannot. Because at a minimum, there has to be some time to prepare the funeral, right? There's got to be some gap, some period of time in which you have to get the funeral together. This is not a life estate followed by a remainder. This is not a natural termination. Understand? Okay, so then Vicky, here comes a follow-up question. If Blackacre does not immediately go to Alex upon the death, sorry, I said Alex. If Blackacre does not go to Baker upon Alex's death, what happens, Vicky, as soon as Alex dies? Where does Blackacre go? Blackacre has to be known by someone. Where does it go? Well, Alex is dead. Okay, it goes to Ollie. Why does it go to Ollie? So what? He's dead, so what? That's correct. Why is reversion? Now, what's the definition of reversion? goes to. Wait, didn't we just say to Jocelyn there's no natural termination here? Are you telling me there's a natural termination? No, don't doubt yourself. Is there a natural termination here? Guys, is there a natural termination here? No, I'm not asking, I'm asking her. Is there a natural termination here? No for who? Immediately, the second Alex dies, where's Blackacre go? The second he dies. Does he have to wait at all? Is there any gap? Is it natural? Yes, she's right. Okay. In the same conveyance, it's unnatural for Baker, but it's natural for Ollie. Isn't that messed up? Isn't that confusing? In the same conveyance, for Baker, it's not natural. But for Ollie, it's natural. Because Ollie gets it ASAP. As soon as the guy dies, it goes to him. That's natural. So Vicky's correct. Ollie has reversion. Right? Ollie has reversion. And the reason a future interest in reversion. And the reason why it's reversion, look at our definition, the future interest that follows a natural termination. Is there a party out there? Future interest that follows a natural termination and goes back to the grantor. Black letter reversion. Black letter. Everyone with me so far? Okay. Now, Nikki, is this a reversion in fee simple? Will Ollie have this forever and ever and ever, no matter what? Okay, so you're saying it can be cut short. So who's going to cut short Ollie's future interest? Who can cut short Ollie's interest? Okay, so Baker can cut short Ollie's future interest, right? Baker can cut short Ollie's future interest. Vicky, what do we call Baker's interest then? Perfect. Very good. Why is it a springing executory limitation? Good. It's springing because Baker is cutting short the interest of the transferor. Right? Ollie. Baker is cutting short Ollie's interest. All Baker has to do is do a good funeral. By the way, this is actually litigated what means to be proper, right? That's not obvious. If you do a funeral 20 years later, is that proper? I don't think so, right? No, seriously, right? So it has to be proper funeral. What happens, though, if Baker dies? Can a dead person have a good funeral? No. It's over. If Baker dies, then we know that Ollie has it forever. But if Baker does a funeral, Ollie loses it automatically. So Rieger, if we know that Baker has a springing executory limitation, what does Ollie have? And this is a mouthful.
So Ollie has a future interest in reversion subject to springing executive limitation.
Excellent, perfect. Okay. Ollie has a future interest in reversion subject to Baker's, I forgot a word, springing executory limitation. Again, Ollie has a future interest in reversion subject to Baker's springing executory limitation. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Right, that is a lot. Did I say, what did I forget? Yeah, you're right. I didn't do that. Yep. I'll try it again. Did you say that, Rieger? Did I not write it down?
No, I did not say that.
Okay, so good. Ollie has a future interest in reversion in fee simple, subject to Baker's springing executory limitation, and Baker has a springing executory. My goodness. All right. My goodness. That's a mouthful. But this is a correct answer. Full credit. A 10 out of 10 points, right? Bigger.
So even fee simple after, for Baker after screening.
He does, yeah. Look, I'm telling you, this is a very, look, you can go on forever with this, right? You can keep adding layers. Trey?
Do you have to put future interest?
No, but Trey likes to.
In Springy and Executory, you don't have to.
I don't require it, but it actually does help you because you remember which is present, which is future, right? Because it makes sure you realize there's only one present interest at a time. If you somehow list two present interests, then check that you made a mistake. So again, it's not necessary, but it guards against making errors, which are possible, right? You can only have one present interest at a time, and that might be one reason why to do it. Everyone get 2 C. It's a hard question. I think you guys did it well. Always make sure your present and future match up. If your future interest is an executory interest, your present interest will probably be subject to that executory interest. You have to always have them match up. You ready for more? I have 2 more. I want to do 3A and 3B. I think I can get done by 3:30, if not maybe a minute or 2 over, but I think I can get done. So this is for Natalie. There's 2 Natalies, I should have said. Okay. Yeah. No, I actually see faces. It's actually been really hard for me to learn names with no faces. You don't appreciate this, but I usually get names much quicker than midway through the semester. All right. Very often, you'll have a question where you're not sure if there's a contingent remainder or an executory interest. And the next 2 questions will illustrate that principle. So this is for you, Natalie. It says 3A. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex for life, comma. Then to Baker, if Baker's reached the age of 21. But if Baker has not reached the age of 21, to Chris. So we start off, Alex is a life estate. What are the future interests here, Natalie?
The future interest looks like,
What does Baker have?
Baker would have a, fee for simple subject to conditions.
So this is one reason why it helps actually list what's present and what's future. You just said a fee simple subject condition subsequent. Is that a present interest or a future interest? So do you want to withdraw your answer?
Yeah.
Try again.
Okay, so a future interest, Baker, the future interest.
What's a present interest?
Life estate.
Okay. And what follows that life estate?
Reversion or remainder.
Okay. Well, what do we have here?
And here we have a remainder because there's a third party.
What? A third party? What are the 2 elements of remainder? You skipped one.
So, remainder has to follow the natural termination.
Is there a natural termination here? In 3A?
I think so.
You think so? Well, look at it. What's the natural termination?
Turning when Baker.
No. So that's not correct, right? What's the natural termination here? You're doing the next step. You're skipping the next step.
Would be Alex's life.
Alex's death. That's the natural termination. Everyone see that, right? She was looking at the 21 bit. That comes later. We'll do that in 30 seconds. You're not done with that yet, right? The natural termination is the death of A. A remainder follows a natural termination. Check. Third party. Check. Remainder. So Alex has remainder here. I'm sorry. Baker's remainder. Now, what kind of remainder is it?
Let's see. It would be vested.
Why do you say vested?
Actually, change my mind to contingent.
You can change your mind. Why do you say contingent?
Because it depends on something else happening.
What? No. What are the criteria for condition for a contingent remainder? Give me the 2 steps.
Okay.
Don't try and paraphrase it because you'll lose it.
Okay, so there has to be a condition precedent.
Condition precedent. Is there a condition precedent here?
Let's see. Yes,
What's the condition precedent?
it's the but in, or the, yeah, but in.
How do you know this condition precedent, not a condition subsequent?
Because of where the comma is.
Good. Does the condition come before or after the remainder?
It comes after the remainder.
No.
Actually, before. It comes after the comma before the remainder.
Well, just there's several commas, so be careful.
Yeah.
Try it again.
Okay.
Is this a condition precedent or a condition subsequent?
It is a condition, precedent,
Why is it a condition precedent?
because the, condition comes before the remainder.
Okay. And if there's a condition precedent, if there's a condition precedent, is the remainder vested or contingent? Contingent remainder. Okay. So thank you. Baker has a contingent remainder. Everyone see that? Carissa, what does Chris have?
So I was thinking at a future interest in fee simple shifting executory limitation, but that was
But what's the present interest?
like,
Does a executory interest match up with the life estate?
no.
No. So what's the future interest here? Carissa, will Chris cut short Baker's interest? Is there any execution going on here?
No, I mean, unless Baker hasn't reached the age.
But my question again is this: I'll only go a few minutes over. I'm sorry, it's took longer than I thought. Does Chris cut short Baker's interest? Does this resemble an executory interest? So what interest does Chris have?
A contingent remainder,
Why is it contingent remainder? Go through your steps.
because it would follow the life estate.
No, not follow life
Or
state.
it
It
would follow
follows,
the natural termination.
which is
Alex's life,
correct.
and then
It goes to.
it goes to.
So watch what happens. You're correct. It's contingent remainder. One or two things happen when Alex dies. When Alex dies, either A, it goes to Baker if he's 21, or B, it goes to Chris. Either of those conditions happen, there's no execution, right? There's no cutting short. So I say that Baker has a contingent remainder in fee simple, future interest. And then Chris has a future interest in contingent remainder in fee simple. These are called alternative contingent remainders. Remember that? When you have one contingent remainder, you're probably going to have a second contingent remainder right after it. So that's a way. So when Chris wasn't sure is a contingent or executory interest, if you know the first one's contingent remainder, the second one's contingent remainder as well. Usually, not always, but usually. All right, I want to do, yeah, Alyssa.
So at the end of Chris's sentence, would you say subject to, or when is the time that you put subject?
Only with executory interests. I want to do 3B so that way both classes are at the same level. I don't want to have different starting points. We'll never remember. All right. So let's do 3B. We'll do 3C next class. 3B. 3 for Lloyd. Blackacre from Ollie to Alex for life, comma, then to Baker. But if Baker dies under the age of 21 to Chris.
So, start by saying, yeah, for the present interest in life estate.
Good. Alex is a present interest in life estate. Okay. What then?
Then Baker has a vested remainder.
You're right. Why is it a vested remainder? And correct. Baker is a vested remainder. Don't get tricked up. Follow your two rules. Baker's remainder follows naturally upon Alex's death. It doesn't matter how old Baker is here. Baker gets it automatically. If Baker's 30, he gets it. Great. It's his forever. If Baker is 19, he gets it. He has to wait. But this is a remainder that's vested. There's no condition precedent. Look where the condition appears. It's after the comma. After the comma. Okay? Lloyd, is this a vested remainder in fee simple absolute? What kind of vested remainder is it? Very good. Done. You're done. Chris is shifting executory limitation. Let me walk that through. The remainder is vested. The but if comes afterwards, right? Don't get thrown off by this. But Chris can cut short Baker's interest. If Baker dies before the ages of 21, Chris comes in and says, that's mine. Chris has a shifting executory limitation. Chris has a shifting executory limitation. Chris can cut short Baker's interest. Again, Baker has a future interest, invested remainder, and fee simple, subject to Chris's shifting executory limitation. Baker has a future interest, invested remainder, in fee simple, subject to Chris's shifting executory limitation. And Chris has a future interest in shifting executory limitation. Chris has a future interest in shifting executory limitation. My goodness. Is that a mouthful? Boy, very good job. All right. Questions? Maybe one question? All right. If you need to go. I'll be here. Otherwise, walk through these very carefully at home and do 3C for homework. That's your homework. I'll give homework. That's your homework.